Welcome to High on Self-Care. I'm your host, Stacey Zeal, yoga teacher, crystal lover, high-functioning stoner, and CEO of MaryZeal.com, a community for stoners who love cannabis and are looking to prioritize their self-care. On this podcast, we'll explore ways that meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and of course, all things weed can help you to elevate your self-care. We'll explore ways to truly value ourselves, use stillness for self-discovery, and cannabis to go higher on our journey. Think of me as your sister stoner who lovingly encourages you to prioritize yourself and reap the benefits of this magical plant. If you're ready to create a life that holds space for your most valuable asset, that's you, by the way, take a deep breath, light your J, and let's dive in. Hey there, High on Self-Care listeners. My name is Stacey Zeal, and welcome back to another episode. If you are new here, welcome. Make sure you hit subscribe. And if you are seasoned, welcome back. We have another awesome guest for y'all today. Y'all know I love my guest episodes. I love having my experts come on and talk about all the things. And today we are talking about holistic home type stuff. For me, this is such a very timely topic because I'm kind of in a phase of transition and in my living space. So, I'm super excited to talk to her, and she's a friend, so we're going to chat. So welcome to the show, Danni. How are you today?
I'm doing great, sis. Thank you for having me, and congratulations for your recent milestone. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we just passed 5,000 downloads, y'all, because of all of y'all out there listening and downloading and sharing it with your friends and telling your people. I love it. All right, y'all. So we are going to get started in today's conversation. So she is the owner of Decor House by Danni and is an interior e-design studio that specializes in creating affordable and holistic spaces for everyone. Welcome to the show, Danni. Tell us who you are and tell us what you do, and then we'll jump into our conversation.
Thank you. I'm Danni, and my brand is Decor House. And I created the e-design studio a few years back as a mean of respite, really, to escape from my corporate job. In this past couple of years, we have all had our own dealings with stress and anxiety. And I got to a point in my job where I couldn't take it anymore. And I wanted to do something that was meaningful and that I was serving others in a more meaningful way, and raising my vibrations and raising others' vibrations at the same time. That's when I came up with the brand Decor House, and it's always been tailored around holistic design, affordable design. And, COVID hit, and so it was actually a perfect time for my brand to go virtual, because now everyone is so much more comfortable with virtual solutions and doing Zoom calls, whereas before, it was like, oh, my hair's not done, or I don't have my makeup on, so I don't want to turn my camera on. But I feel now that we've just been doing it so much more, everyone has more experience and has broken down the barriers of just being raw on camera. And so what I do is I tailor my designs to my clients' needs. We go through Zoom. I have them do a walkthrough tour of their home, show me what they like, what they don't like, and we go from there. We go through the designing process. So, yeah.
Love that. I love that you were trying, like you mentioned that, you wanted to escape corporate, because I literally 1,000% feel that. And I'll leave that there. One of the reasons I was been so excited to talk to you is because, like you mentioned, like we've been inside, right, for COVID. And I think that when COVID hitting, our homes and our interior spaces became so much more important, right? Because it's like, you're in here every day, you're looking at it every day. I know that I work from home in my full-time job and just, in my business in general. So I'm always home. One of the things we didn't realize is that we've come to realize, I guess, now that we've been in this for about, 2 years, we've come to realize how important it is to have a really positive space to be in. At least I know for me, like being in a space that feels energetically grounded and feels like me and feels safe is such an important thing. And so we've just had so many people, having issues with people breaking into their houses, people getting into. So it's like our homes are so important, yet we don't pay much attention to them, right? We don't really, we hadn't, I guess, until the last couple of years. So I love, your mission and what you do and taking it virtually for sure. I think it's just it's such a great idea. I know for me personally, I'm just like, I want somebody to just virtually tell me how to, style my house. But I want to talk about what is a holistic home. Let's start there. Like, define it for us, tell us why it's important, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So you did touch on it a little bit when you mentioned, the energy of your space. So everything around us has energy. We go out into the world, we absorb energy, we bring that back into our homes. Or if our homes are cluttered, or, it doesn't even have to be cluttered, you could have everything meticulously in order, that has energy too. So whatever we are surrounding ourselves with has energy. And we take that energy and we pass it back on to the outside world. And then there's a give and a take. You're giving and you're receiving these energies. So you want to make sure that when you're home, your energy is being grounded, as you mentioned. So if you're looking around and you're seeing that you need to make some updates or something just feels off, it feels awkward. So that's what's giving you the energy. It's not about certain style, or it's not about having nice and new things. I love thrifting. Like, that's my favorite. So it's definitely not, or I'm looking through a magazine having to have this picture perfectly styled room at all. It's all about how you feel in it. And you could go into, a beautiful, luxurious space, but, it feels cold or it feels off. So it's all about having the awareness of recognizing what that energy is and shifting it to serve you better. And I like to do this in several different ways when I'm exploring with my clients, and I give them a questionnaire. And, you just go down the list. I think I have between 30 and 40 questions. How's the lighting? Where are you getting most of your sunlight from? Do you have windows that you're using? Are you opening those windows? Do you like your window coverings, or can those be adjusted? What about your flooring? Do you have carpets or do you have hard floors? Or the door spaces? Are you coming in through your garage every day and not using your front door? Because we don't understand that opening our doors and allowing that movement through invites and clears so much energy. So just having a natural flow of light, a natural flow of air, that's the two most important aspects for me. I always like to bring in plants and biophilia because they have natural air purifying qualities. And just looking at greenery has the qualities to just ground us and sets us in a nice vibe and mood with being with nature. It's very restorative. I like using crystals. I like using, incense and aromatherapies, anything that's just going to make you feel better about your space. And when it comes to the furniture or your things, colors have a very impactful presence in our overall mood and our psychology. So you want to make sure that you're bringing in calming tones, ones that's not kind of like setting you off in different areas of your room, of your space. Your bedroom should be more calming. Your living area should be more neutral. And then, your kitchen area might have more of like the fiery elements, and your dining room could have more of the fiery elements because that's where you're having conversations and more interactions. So it just all depends on where you want to improve and what energy you are receiving from your space and what you want to do with your space. So, and that's different for every person. If I asked you, you said you want to feel more grounded, you mentioned. So just looking around is having more grounding elements, maybe more grounding colors, maybe more grounding furnishings. And someone else might think they want to be more focused. So they might have different elements, or someone might want to feel more uplifting. So they might have different elements. So it's just definitely, it's all tailored around everyone's individual psychology. And I like to say it's like interior design therapy, right? Because what I'm trying to do is enhance the space to what you want and what you need for yourself and for your family. You have to include everyone that's around. I know my son is an empath, so I had to be very conscious of the colors. And when we paint, I always ask what colors he wants. What does he like? Because I know that he's very sensitive to certain things will set him off. So I definitely have, a 7-year-old come in and I give him a little bit of range as far as what colors he wants to put in, and it gives him a little bit more freedom of his expression as well. Yeah. So the holistic vibe is really about having the awareness to recognize where your energy is and making that shift to clear it in a nutshell.
Yeah. I'm writing that down because that is so important and so key. And like one of the things that I'm hearing you say and coming from that is that, it really starts with self. And a lot of things on this podcast, a lot of the elements, whether it's you're smoking weed or you're practicing self-care, it starts with assessing how you want to feel. And so I love that that's the place that we kind of begin, because so often we'll get on Pinterest. I know I'm guilty of this. I will get on Pinterest and Google living room design, bedroom design, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, taking someone else's influences and thoughts and then just putting it into my space rather than starting with self and saying like, well, how do I want to feel in my living room? Like I spend a lot of time in my living room. My office is in my living room. And so I spend a lot of time here. And so I need, and I work from here. I do my podcast from here. So I really want it to feel very grounding. I really want it to be focused. I can't have a whole lot going on. I love that that's the approach that you direct your clients and that you take, because I think that really does lean into the self-care conversation. And that's why I was so excited to have you on and to talk about this in such an interesting way, because self-care definitely has to do with, your house and how you're surrounded, what you're surrounding yourself and what energy you have present in your space. So how do we assess if we're inside our houses, right? And we're like, okay, I really want to start to figure out, the energy of my house. How do we start to really figure out what energies are present? And I don't mean necessarily in a spiritual sense, unless that's where you want to go, but I meant more so like, if I feel like if I'm having a lot of clutter, for example, like energetically, what kind of vibe is that giving off?
So you touched on a few things. So at first I want to go through when I go into the deep dive in my consultations with my clients, I will have them walk outside and I have them do a little 60-second breathing exercise. And I have them repeat the mantra that I am free and I am present and I am happy. And so they close their eyes, they inhale, they exhale. And so they release everything that they had absorbed from their home. Then they go through the door, and I don't ask them to make any comments or anything, but just observe. Just observe what is the first thing that you see. Does that make you happy? Don't have any judgments about it. Does it make you upset? Does it make you angry? Does it make you joyful? Just notice what it is without judgment and kind of take note of that. And then to go into their main area that they want to update, say a living room or so, and just sit and be with the space and take notice of it. And then just notice anything that, like you're saying, clutter. If there's any clutter there that is just irritating them, make notice of that. Or if everything is meticulously placed, make note of that too, because clutter transpires down to trauma that we haven't dealt with. You don't want to deal with it, so you just leave it.
Oh my gosh, you are like reading my life right now. God, I'm like looking around my living room like, bitch, get your life together.
And we all do it, right? We all do it. I can't, I am one, I have clutter, and I just try to put everything in a basket and then I can't find it. So that's me just packing up all my trauma and putting it away.
Yes.
And then
Isn't that what we do?
I can't find it.
Yes.
It's funny because I don't like to see the clutter, so I just put everything in a bin and I put it out in the garage. And then like my family can't find it. And it's like, okay, well go outside and go look in the bin because that's probably where it is.
Right.
Clutter definitely it kind of boils down to traumas that we haven't dealt with. And if everything is pristine on the other hand, and you have like a little bit of OCD qualities or so, that's some perfectionism issues as well that also kind of boils down to some other issues of trauma on the other spectrum too. So those are things that I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to try to unpack all of your troubles, but those are definitely emotions that need to be dealt with. And if you can identify those within your living space, then maybe you can allow yourself to live more freely and to express those emotions a little bit more freely. Everything is emotionally tied. And I'm not saying that just because you have a cluttered home that you're living on the edge of a breakdown, but you seen the show Hoarders, like that's like the extreme end of the spectrum. And those people are definitely living with, a lot of trauma that they have not dealt with. But, everyday clutter is just everyday clutter. I'm not passing judgment. So yeah, those are definitely things that we need to come up and we need to try to identify, okay, what is the solution for that and create areas that we can, unbox it, so to speak. So that's what I try to deal with. And so there might be clutter on the floor. Well, that's because it doesn't have a place. Let's give it a place. Mm-hmm. If it has a place, then once you see it, then you can just immediately put it in its spot and then it can no longer be clutter. Or if everything is just so pristine and it's just like, oh, don't touch anything or don't leave fingerprints well, that's not comfortable, right? I like having a very comfortable, casual place. I like a warm, inviting vibe, and you want your visitors to feel warm and inviting. And so you ever been over someone's house and it's just like, they don't have the plastic over their couch, but they should, because you feel like if you move, you're gonna mess something up. You don't want to mess
especially messy people like me. I am a messy person. So if I'm in somebody's house and it's like too clean and it's like I'm just like, I feel like I should not touch anything. It's gonna give me anxiety. I'm just gonna stand there, right? Especially if I'm high. Like especially if I came in there high and I'm not supposed to touch nothing, It's gonna give me some real anxiety.
Yes, you don't want to break anything. So, and that's the thing. It's like noticing those feelings that you feel in your own space or someone else's space. It's that energy is off. So that energy needs to be cleared. It needs to be recognized and addressed. So those are the things that I deal with. So I've had both ends of the spectrum of people who have like cluttered homes and then people who have pristine homes. And it's like, you ask for my opinion or, my design advice, but your house is beautiful. So what can I do to enhance it? And like you're saying, it's like, oh, it just doesn't feel right, or just doesn't feel good. So then that's where we can introduce whatever those vibes that are lacking. So that's where I just go through more of a deep dive with my clients and, try to get into like, well, what is the feeling that you want to convey and how do you actually want to use that space? And what's your favorite color? What's your favorite mood? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? Like, it's like dating, really. It's like dating someone, getting to know them, because you can't create a space without having that connection with the emotions. It's completely connected.
And it sounds so very connected in a way that I haven't really, considered before, because I think about, looking at things that seem out of place and it's like, I'm looking at it, but then I'm just like, I'm not doing anything about it. And it's just, but it annoys me, right? I feel anxiety about it. I feel some kind of emotion towards it, and it annoys the crap out of me. Or like if I have a cluttered smoking space, because I have my smoke area, like I had, and before we end, I want to talk about how we can create a beautiful smoking zone in our house, because that's one of the things I want to do when I move. Even thinking about, the space where enjoy my cannabis, right? Where I'm rolling up, where I am, packing my bowls and stuff like that. Like if that space starts to get cluttered, I start to just feel more anxious and more, and when I have my space kind of laid out and everything, is in its right space, it feels better. Hey, y'all. I wanted to jump in to tell you about one of my favorite ways to unwind after a long day over here on Team Mary Zeal, other than a joint. After a crazy day, we love to unwind with a yummy cup of hot CBD tea from Twin Flame Tea Company. In fact, when I started on my journey into CBD, this is one of the first products I tried and I love it. Twin Flame Tea Company makes organic, herbal, hand-blended loose leaf tea that contains hemp, so you can get your daily dose of CBD in addition to the relaxation, y'all. My personal favorite is their You Need to Calm Down Chamomile Peppermint Hemp Infused Tea. So head over to maryzeal.com/twinflametea to see all their yummy flavors and get on this CBD train. What are some tips that you have for decluttering? Because I think, like you were saying, there's so much energy attached to clutter, even if it's just like regular household clutter, right? Like and there is some kind of energy tied towards it, right? And so we're all about filling our tanks and all about living abundantly and having that energy to carry over and to make our visions come true. And I think that, again, with us spending so much time in our homes, we have to make sure that there aren't really, many energy suckers in our home, because we have so many outside of our home, right? We have so many when we get online, so many when we walk out the door, there's a school shooting damn near every day. Like there's so much going on outside of our homes that are sucking our energy. What are some tips that we can do in the home to declutter and to make sure that our space is more a zone of energizing us and a zone of zen rather than a zone of clutter?
Yes, I love that. I love everything you said there because it's all very true. So first, I like to just identify what you like. Like if you could choose one favorite thing in your room, what is it? And what do you like about it so much? And what are those emotions that are tied to that? Where is it a memory? Is it, you bought something on vacation or a picture, something that has, meaning tied to it? On the other end of the spectrum, what is not serving you? And so if we can kind of associate the things that make us happy and disassociate the things that do not make us happy, just put those things that don't bring you any joy or any kind of general feeling of happiness and peacefulness and calm and well-being, put those away, right? So just kind of, I like Marie Kondo. She's the best for decluttering, and does it spark joy is her famous quote. And it's really true. I'm not saying to go through the whole Marie Kondo effect of your house, because I think that's kind of extreme and you can't rid everything. But definitely make note of the things that you have that you want to keep around, and then try to increase more of those. And the things that don't serve you, or, you might not like it, but someone that you love gave it to you. Well, you don't like it though, but it reminds you of them, but you still don't like it. Well, put that away. And then if you miss it, then you can bring it back out. But, I like the ritual of, like I was saying, put everything in a box and put it in the garage. And I usually find that it's not until 3-4 months later that someone is looking for something. It's not really necessary until it is necessary. So then those are those things that you can kind of bring back into your home, into your space, because you need them. But the other things, if they're not serving you in this moment and in your present moment, then that's what you need to get rid of, or at least put it away for now. So I think that's my way of kind of clearing things. It's keeping what you have and what you feel energetically tied to in a positive way, keeping that in your space. But the things that have no current use, they might have a use, in 6 months, but right now in today's present moment, they have no current use. Then try to tuck those away. If you have, if you don't have a garage like I do, you can just take a closet, take a medium-sized box and just kind of tuck everything away until you do find meaning for them again. And then you can revisit this box in 6 months to a year. And if you're finding that you haven't gone back, then those are the things that you can get rid of. So it's kind of more of a process than Marie Kondo's method of just like get rid of everything right away. Kind of a transgression, because it is hard to get rid of some things. You know, some things do have personal ties and memories and everything, but if they aren't serving you in this moment, then those are what you need to just physically get away with. Other than that, definitely just making a place for everything. Make sure that everything has a place. So like I'm one, and I know most women all have the problem of the bathroom clutter, our hair products, our makeup products. It's a problem. And I'll clean it up, and 4 or 5 days later, it's a whole complete mess. And all it takes is one time you've gone out, and then the whole thing is a mess again. So
I still have my beauty sponge on my counter from the last time I put on makeup, which was probably a week ago.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then you look at it and it's just like, why is it there? So just having a beautiful place to place it, and then becomes a ritual. So maybe just don't stuff it all in the boxes or in the containers, but I know Container Store has the stack storage and the clear ones, and they have cute little gold handles and everything. So if you have beautiful ways of displaying it, then it will be more of a display than of a storage. And so it's just making sure that you don't have too much of what you don't need. Like go through the makeup, and if you haven't used products in 3 to 6 months, you don't really need those products. Those aren't your favorites. And I know we collect products all the time, and we buy new stuff, we use it, and then we find, oh, it doesn't really work, or it's too sticky, or for whatever reason, but we don't want to get rid of it because it costs $18, but it's not serving you.
Right.
So it's time to get rid of it. So it's just these little moments that you can go through, and it takes time. It's not something that's going to happen in one weekend, because that's very overwhelming. But if you can set aside, one day a week, maybe 1 hour a week, to just go through different areas of your space that are cluttered and create a method to declutter them and to display your items beautifully instead of tucking them away, then when you use them, you'll be more inclined to put them back and display them again. So if you have all your brushes displayed in a beautiful way, just the ones that you use, not like 25 brushes, like nobody needs that many brushes. Maybe you need 8 brushes.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's all just about recognizing what you need and what you don't need, and then making a place for it. So then when it is not in its place, you can immediately associate with putting it back in its place rather than leaving it where it is.
Yeah. Those are such great tips, because I do find that like when especially makeup, right? I have my makeup, I love makeup and I'm into that. And so it's like, I have my stuff in a space where it's not necessarily displayed, but I bought this really, when I back in my makeup artist days, I bought this really, really nice and expensive MAC makeup kit, makeup bag that has like all the compartments. It has all the things. And so I put my makeup in there, and they're all clear so I can see everything. And I find that, I've created a habit of putting it back because everything has a place. I know where like my blushes go here, my foundations go in this pouch. And so I always put things back. But then my brushes, for example, are not displayed nicely. I just have them in like a brush kit. Like a little brush thing. And then my sponge is, just thrown somewhere. And so it's like, those are the things that end up being cluttered because they don't have a space and they don't have, and I just throw them there. So those are such great tips. And one of the things I wanted to go into was also, we talked a little bit about plants earlier. So I'm a big plant blurred. I love plants. Like I'm a proud Black plant parent. So what are some ways that we can introduce plants into our space to help and keeping in that same conversation of cleansing energy. Because I do honestly do believe that, you know, plant care is definitely self-care, like getting up every morning, taking care of my plants, talking to my plants, smoking out my plants. Like, you know, it's such a great form of self-care. And then also, it also cleans my space energetically, I believe. Like, you know, like you said, we do go out and we come back with different energies. Even, you know, getting on Zoom sometimes, like, you know, if you get off a work call, I've been plenty of times when I've gotten off a work call and I've been frustrated. So you can kind of start to feel that energy through the computer, even if you're not physically around people. So how do we introduce plants into our space in a way that, one, you know, helps them thrive, helps them clean the energy, but also contributes to just the beauty of our space?
Absolutely. I love plants. I am also a proud Black plant mom. I keep collecting plants every time I come home. My husband is like, do we need more plants? Yes, we do. We do. I like, you go out. I think plants are kind of like crystals and essential oils, and you go out and it just calls you and it's just like, I need you. So my plant collection is just as big as my crystal collection. I love the macrame baskets. Like, those are so awesome to me. The ones that you can just sit the plants in and hang them around. Those are beautiful because if you don't have places along your windowsill, or if it's not a plant that you can sit on the floor, it's a good way to display your plants without taking up too much space. It's hard when you're incorporating plants sometimes to figure out exactly where that plant needs to go. So I like to recommend low maintenance plants for my clients in the beginning. So these are snake plants, these are ZZ plants, these are pothos. Like, these are all plants that don't require a lot of light and water. And if you forget to water them for a weekend, they're not going to get too angry with you. And if they're not getting proper lighting, they're not going to get too angry with you too. And they're kind of still, except for the pothos, that plant moves around a lot. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too, about the movement of plants, because that energy affects us as well. But if you're finding that you have a little bit of a thumb and it's not brown and it's turning green, then definitely just whatever speaks to you when you go out. I see a plant, the first thing I do is I research it. Like, what is this plant? Where does it go? Do I have space? Do I have the right window for it? I have a nice south facing patio door that all my plants love. And aside from that, I don't have very many. I have one north facing window and I have one west facing window. So just knowing the placement of what those plants need and where they need to sit before you're buying them, because you could just set them up for failure if you're not purchasing the right plants. And also the watering schedule. As you know, I'm in Las Vegas, so it's dry. So I try not to get too many tropical plants that I cannot sustain the level of humidity that it needs without having to set up, like extra humidifiers by the plant. So those are the main aspects. I think the watering schedule, is that a schedule that you can deal with, so we buy plants that are beautiful, but we don't think about sometimes the care that it takes to withstand this plant. So if it's a plant that can get watered once a week and that's something that you can do, great. If it's a plant that needs more watering or 2 or 3 times a week and you're too busy to attain that schedule, then maybe you should shy away from that plant. And then also, I was talking about the movement of plants. There are some plants that move throughout the day. And then there are others that are pretty still. They're slow growers. So you don't want to put the moving plants in your bedroom because they have so much energy. And when you're in your bedroom, you're just trying to calm down. And if you're visually seeing the plant's movement, and although it can be a very relaxing if you're in the state of awareness and if you're focused and if you're trying to get something achieved, but when you're sleeping, you want to have a lot of more calm variety. of plants. And, when you see on Instagram these bedroom pictures and they all have all these beautiful plants because it looks good for the staging of the picture. But you will find that if you're actually putting all those plants around your bed, I tried it once because I love plants and I tried to put like these plants around my bed and there was just something off about it, right? So there was like there's humidity that's coming from the plant that I wasn't used to. So it was affecting my sleep. Also, the plants get little gnats, like you want gnats around you when you're sleeping. And then just the movement of the leaves itself, they make noise, so it's just not a very calming situation to have in your bedroom. But bathrooms are great places to have plants with movement. Bathrooms have high humidity, so if you want to buy some more of those tropical plants, those are a great place to put them. Kitchens are an awesome place to put the plants that have more movement because, these are high energetic spaces. So you want your plants to reflect the spaces that you're going to be in. So if it's a high energy space, make sure that's where you're putting the higher energy plants. I know I have some plants that they move during the day. I have a prayer plant that lifts its arms up or leaves up at night because it's like reaching for more light. And it's beautiful, but that's not something that I will want to have in my bedroom when I'm trying to go to sleep and this thing is moving all night. You have to think about the energetic qualities of the plant itself, as well as how much energy are you willing to give that plant to sustain it. It has to be an equal balance. And if that plant is too high maintenance for you, then it's going to make you sad when it goes. And it's going to go because, like, the plants can be drama queens sometimes.
Mm-hmm. They really can. And plant parenthood, I think, is just like so many other things, it's a journey. And so for anyone who is, and because these are great tips, let me tell y'all, like I'm writing down all of this stuff because I'm like, okay, let me move my one plant that's in my room that moves. I'm gonna put my snake plant in there because she's real chill. So it really is important, right? And plant parenthood is, it's just a journey. And so if you're someone who feels like you have a black thumb or a brown thumb and you keep killing things, like trust me, like when we all started, we killed things. There are things that I kill now, right? There are things when I'm like, oh, shoot, this plant is not doing well. I need to revive her, so it's really a journey. One of the things you were getting at is just like, it's so indicative of how you treat yourself. Because if I find that, for me, if I'm neglecting my plants, if I'm neglecting myself, I'm most likely also neglecting my plants. I'm not taking the time to slow down and give them what they need and pay attention to them and spray them down with water and talk to them. And they start to tell me, right? They say like, hey, I need your attention. And they start to brown, they start to look sad. And so, so all of that energy is so contributive. I don't even know if contributive is a word, but we're going to say that today. And so it contributes to how we feel in our space and and especially if you're someone who lives who works at home and, who is spending a lot of time at home. That energy that you have in your space is so indicative of how you're treating yourself. So, and I find that when I turn inward, when I start to treat myself, I start to pay attention to my plants more. I start to realize like, oh, this one's starting to brown a little bit, or this one I think has a disease. And so it's just it's super important. And so I love these tips. And so one of the things I want to talk about before we wrap is some tips on creating our high meditation space, energetic wise, like, even like what plants would be great for that. Because I want, one of the things I want to do is, and I kind of have a meditation space. Like I have my cushion and I put my cushion just right in the middle of my plants. I look out a window. I don't know, for me, I just love to be in the sunlight when I meditate. So I love to sit in a sunny window. I love to look out and feel that kind of sun. I love to have my crystals around. So can you give us some quick tips on how to create a meditation space and keeping in mind that, we like our meditations with a little bit of weed. So we need to have our stuff nearby that we can do. Yeah.
I love this. Thank you for bringing this up. This is my favorite. So meditation spaces and yoga spaces are my specialty. So as you are also a yoga instructor, I am a yoga instructor also. So just having the designated meditation area, a yoga space, a calming space, you can call it whatever you want, it is so important for any of my clients, all of my clients. I just want to make sure that everyone has a time and a place to sit down and reflect. And not everyone has a space for a room. I don't have a space for a whole room, but in my bedroom, I just have my yoga mat is always out. So it's always, when I wake up, it's a constant reminder that I need to do some yoga. And that might be gentle stretching, it might be a full flow. It just depends on what you're feeling for that day. Your meditation area should be a designated spot, but it does not have to include much space in your home if you don't have it. So it could be your favorite chair by your favorite window. And if that's what you have, then that's what you have. It could be your bathtub because you like taking baths. So, you just want to find where your favorite space is and kind of situate it there. Because as you mentioned, like you like to look out the window and it has a lot of natural light. Like you were already feeling that energetically and you were drawn to that space. So that's where you situate it yourself. Having nice, comfortable seating, whether it's a chair, you say you have a stool, that's wonderful. Having, cozy throws, pillows, anything that's soft, because softness kind of resets our brain and makes our brain feel more calm and relaxed. It's really important to have something or some sort of coziness that you can rub your hands into and rub your feet into. It could be if you have a backyard, it could be a spot there or a spot on your front porch if you have one, or the balcony. It could be a favorite bench at the park. If you don't have a space that is calm within your home, you can find one somewhere else. Aside from having your nice cozy seating, natural light is very, very important. It's not always attainable, but if you are drawn to it and you do have a window nearby, it should be situated there. Some sort of lighting that is dimmable. I like the salt lamps, the crystal salt lamps. A lot of the aromatherapy diffusers will have like a subtle lamp that you can choose what color you want to put onto it and what scent you want is really important. Plants are good to incorporate, just bringing ourselves back to nature. So you just want to think what makes you feel grounded. So anything that is grounding you in that moment, whether that is the plants or whether that is having a nice view of looking outside. I think any plant that is low maintenance and can thrive in the area that you're putting is good. It doesn't have to be a certain plant per se. All plants have natural purifying qualities and they can withstand, the smoke or whatever, and they'll absorb any byproducts of that. Having sort of like creating an altar space for yourself. So a small table, a small bench, and having your favorite thing. So whatever that is, if you want, to have your Bible or your cross or your Buddha statue, your favorite crystals, a box or some sort of place to hold your smoking utensils. So it becomes a ritualistic center. So the whole space with itself becomes a ritual. And then once it becomes a ritual, then you'll be more inclined to keeping it uncluttered. And having it uncluttered is key because once it's cluttered, then your mind won't go to a place of relaxation. So, and that's just every time you use it at the end, put everything back. So in my meditation spaces, I pull out all my crystals. I go through them. It's like, which one do I want today? Which one do I want to practice? What do I want to hold? What do I want to surround myself with? I light sage. I do the sound bowls. But then having a place to display your favorite items is important. And then having a little box or basket to tuck the other ones that if it's too much, it'll have a lot of visual clutter. Having a journal nearby is super important because, when you're smoking, you be getting ideas. So it's just like you want to have something there to write those down because that's the universe. It's talking to you. It's speaking through that medicine. So getting in tune with yourself, being able to sit and quiet, sit with yourself, allow any emotions to come up. Don't pass judgments on them. Just recognize them freely and openly, peacefully. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be something that is really, really planned out. It's just somewhere, just make sure that you have a spot, pick a spot. And that's just step one. Pick a space. Like you said, you have your meditation space. Put a table there, a small table to collect all your things then, and then start decorating it in a cute way. I love to see you guys' little meditation spaces. You can have like a what's your meditation challenge or something. I would
Yes,
love
that would be
that.
awesome.
That
I
would be so
love that.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes, we should definitely do that. Yes, we
Yeah.
should definitely do that for sure. I love that. Those are such great tips because, they're such great tips. And I need to get an altar. That's the thing
You
that
need
I'm
an
missing. And I've
altar.
been
That's what
thinking
you're
about
missing.
that,
You have
and
to
I
have the
love that you
altar.
mentioned like putting all like having a basket there to put your stuff in. So that way it's the space stays clutter free. Your mind can be clutter free. You don't have to think about, the space being cluttered even when you finish. And because it's so important, it's just super important to have a space that is designated for it. Because I know sometimes I will walk past my meditation space. And I see my meditation space damn near every day because it's literally also in my living room. So I see it. And if I didn't meditate that day like I didn't today, I'll look and I'm like, oh, damn, I need to meditate. I need to go. I need
And
to
it
do it. I need to
calls
do
you.
it.
It
It
calls
does.
you.
It does. And I love that you mentioned having like a journal or something nearby. You do sometimes get ideas, especially when you're clearing your mind, right? Like if you are someone who is stuck between a decision, trying to figure out what you should do. I know that one of the things that helps me a lot is to really just like go meditate on something, like sit, quiet my mind, and then come back to considering it or think about it. Like before I make any kind of big move, I'm just like, let me sit, let me meditate on it. Let me make sure that this is what I want to do. This is grounded in my purpose. And this is going to get me closer to my vision rather than, it being someone else's vision. So those are such great tips. We have had such a great conversation, y'all. I'm loving all this stuff. I cannot wait until when I move to call you so you can do my e-design. So please let us know a little bit more about how our friends can contact you, to work with you, how they can find you online, and what's some things that you can do for them in their homes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So first, let me talk about the e-design process a little bit, because that is not a terminology that is familiar with anyone outside of the interior design realm. So e-design is basically interior design done virtually. That's all it is. It's, you get the same services, but I am not coming into your home physically. I am giving you a detailed package of explanations and a shopping list and a guideline.
Oh, I love a shopping list. That's what I need. Tell me what to buy. So many things. Just tell me what I need.
That's
please.
it. Exactly. It's narrow.
Just take my card. Please, just charge it.
Take all my money. Yeah, it's a guideline for you to design your space. So, we have our consultation. We know exactly how you want to feel in your space, and we narrowed all that down. We know what your style is. We know what your favorite things are. And that's where I go and I do my design work. And then I create a mood board, which is basically it's a sheet with the furnishings that I have chosen for you based upon your style and your picks and your moods and all that. And so when I provide you with this, it's going to be clickable. You can click on the couch. It'll take you to where I sourced it from, and you can purchase it there. If it's, I remain in budget, but if you decide, you know what, I want to wait a few months because I want to get some things in order, or this is really cute, but I'm going to see if I can find something like it somewhere else. Or you like to thrift as I do. So at least you have a guideline with a style to go on. And when you go out and you do your shopping, you know what you need to buy, or you know what style you need to remain within. It's clickable shopping links. I have instructions of, what is the proper height to hang your artwork? What's the proper height to hang your curtains? All of these kinds of things, because I know that people who are not in my field may not know these things, may not come second nature as they do. So that's a little bit of my process. I provide you with a guide, and then you are free to style it, to buy it, to DIY it, all on your own time with your own budget at your own pace. You can go to my website to see my services and to book me directly through decohouse.com. Online, I am at Deco House on Instagram. I am at Deco House LTD on Pinterest. I am at Deco House on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's where basically you can hit me up on Instagram. If you're on IG, you can DM me for ideas and tips and all of that. I will be sending out a newsletter, my fall newsletter. I should have that wrapped up in about a week. So I will send that to you, Stacey, so that you can share that with your fans.
Yes, that's so awesome. Thanks so much again for coming on the show. And y'all, all of her information will be in the show notes. So make sure you head over to maryzeal.com/40. And you can definitely link to her site, link to her Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much, Danni. This has been such a great conversation. I am so excited to just walk around my house and just figure out what brings me joy, figure out what I need to get rid of some of this clutter, and just really get this altar going for my meditation space. Because, I think that especially, after this year that we've had and just us still being at home more, I know that even though things are starting to open back up, like I'm still home a lot. And this is where I expel a lot of my energy, right? I record my podcast. I do, all of the stuff that requires me to be of my best self, mostly from home now. And so it's been really, really helpful to get some ideas and some tips on how to declutter, how to create a holistic home, and how to create a space that you just feel good in, that energizes you, that doesn't suck your energy, and just kind of gets rid of all that nasty, crazy energy that you may bring home. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I am super excited.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you got a nugget of information or inspiration from this episode, here are 5 ways you can support the podcast. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/high-on-self-care to send your token of appreciation. You can shop Mary Zeal's favorite things. This is a list of products that we love and have actually tried over at maryzeal.com. And some of these products contain affiliate links that give us a kickback when you shop their site at no cost to you. You can leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. If you are listening on the web, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast app of choice. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the places. 4th, you can share the podcast with 3 friends that you think will benefit from all the nuggets that we drop. And lastly, you can join my email list to get episodes sent to you weekly and learn about all the fun new things we have coming up on maryzeal.com and the podcast. All the links are in the description. And I will catch you on the next episode.